Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, we'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 8 of the anime series, Amaama to Inazuma, another adorable episode, and that is the go-to word for this series, whether you're dealing with Tsumugi, Kotori, even Kohei himself. Each of these characters is so heartening and heartwarming, and it just brings a smile to my face whenever an episode begins. And of course, a large chunk of this episode is dealing with Kohei's trying to, resolve for himself a way to become part of those memories that Tsumugi has of mommy, who is no longer with them. She carries around her little purse, which is something her mommy made for her or gave her. And even though it's stained and she's had it a long time, Kohei is talking to some parents in the beginning of this episode where, of course, Kotori is freaking out because he hasn't shown up for class. And the last time she saw him, he was ill. And she's got all the worst case scenarios going through her mind. Is something wrong with him? Is something wrong with Tsumugi? But in fact, we find he only took the morning period off so he could attend a parents' get-together with Tsumugi's class. And hereabouts, he's talking with some of the other women. He's like really the only father there, I think, about after he overhears them talking about making a new purse every year, kind of like a family tradition. He begins to wonder if this is something he should employ for Tsumugi and something he should put some heart and soul into, not really knowing what Tsumugi would feel about having a new bag. And the whole time, as soon as he began considering this and he saw the stain on the little bag and he was thinking, give her a new one entirely, my initial thought was ask her about it first. Don't do this, try to surprise her with something or get rid of the old bag. Ask her first because you need to know how she's feeling about it. I'm sure something, in the eyes of a child, even without having any sort of, predisposition to expect this was something her mommy necessarily made for her or gave her, that she would have so much importance, holding over. I knew that you would have to ask this little girl because she would probably have some kind of attachment to it, even if it wasn't something that deep and meaningful and familial. And I was so proud of Kohei for actually going ahead and asking her about it after they had their fun, sort of gaming, the phone game. And you got the little kid Mikio talking about, oh, I'm going to marry you someday, Tsumugi. And Tsamugi's like, bleh, no, I don't think so. And that whole situation and Kohei's reactions just had me cracking up to that, like the revelation of that. And he was so proud that Tsumugi turned him down, and even though he felt bad for him, But of course, when he asks her about it, we have this really just emotional, tugging on the heartstrings moment where Tsumugi reveals this was mommy's bag. This was something mommy gave me. And she doesn't want to let go of that because the absence of mommy is truly felt by her. Whether it's down to, the kind of foods Kohei has been able to make before matching up with Kotori and being able to make much tastier dishes and things closer to what mommy used to make. All these efforts that he is putting through the roof to just make his daughter the happiest she can be. There are still a lot of things that are unanswerable to the fact that mommy is no longer here. And I loved that, there was a bonding sort of in between them in that understanding. And yet, Kohei finds a way by the end to still make daddy a part of it. And I love that this was something so welcomed by Tsumugi. She's proudly showing off that purse in class to her friends after he gets her a little patch, a little, kawaii apple patch to put over the little stain. And her description of it being, mommy and daddy made this for me, it brought a tear to my eye because, this is Kohei feeling success, the same kind of success he has been having with Kotori's help in making, the squid and yams stew for Tsumugi and all the dishes that they have made together for Tsumugi. I mean, this is something that doesn't touch base on the culinary. It touches base on the more personable, the more familial, something much deeper rooted to the connection between this family. And Tsumugi has felt that connection with her mommy, but daddy's kind of been off in his own sort of arena. And this is something that bridges the gap by his getting that little patch and putting it on her purse that she loves so dearly and she cherishes so much because it came from mommy. To add that patch to it, he's able to become a part of the same memory. He's able to become a part of the same gift. And I loved that. I just absolutely loved and adored that. And again, it brought a, tear to my eye, because I loved Samugi's reaction. I loved how much she cherished it even more, that she could now say, this wasn't just something Mommy gave me, it was something Mommy and Daddy made for me, gave me. And, oh man, it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And I love, Kotori's expression. I mean, they really just zoom in right on her face. Most of the time it's Samugi taking up the screen with funny expressions. But it was a heartwarming expression where you see Kotori just smiling ear to ear, being so happy that she was able to make, for Kohei, this stew, this again, it sounds nasty to me, squid and yams and okra and all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't like any of that stuff on its own, let alone together. But it was something Samugi strongly desired. And to see Kohei tasting it and coming across this revelation, like he began to speculate, is stew the same for everybody? Does it taste the same for everybody? Because whatever went into this dish, the heart and soul that went into this dish, the ingredients, somehow I feel like I've had this before. And it kind of mirrors, Samugi's reaction at one point when she sees the squid having been boiled, it chopped up and boiled, and she says, this is familiar to her. Like, it's really allowing them to traipse down that path and retrace their steps of what Mommy was once able to do while she was still with them. And yet it's a brand new chapter, because it's dealing with Kohei being taught and learning right alongside Kotori, who, it was interesting actually to see her reaction when she thought Kohei had cut himself, cutting whatever the little like rhubarb looking thing, having to cut the skin off, and it got moist and slippery and slipped out of his hands, and she was so afraid that he had cut his finger. And this really harkens back to that revelation. I thought there was a deeper meaning, sort of going on between the characters, the characters coming together, and Kotori's feeling fearful of having to spend so much of her time alone in this empty house and restaurant. And, the sort of being afraid of the blades was kind of a parallel to that. But we also find out that as a child, she must have cut herself, and she's been practicing apparently because she has a bandaged finger. So she actually has a legitimate fear of the knives as well, the cutlery itself as well. And it's all about these characters coming together and learning to grow and evolve, and learning to learn beyond what their sort of comfortable status has been. And whether there's romance on the horizon between Kotori or Kohei or not, they do have feelings for each other in a sort of friendship, in a kinship, and a familial sense. They're like a family. Even if there isn't a romantic quality, there doesn't need to be, because it's just a beautiful equation answering to the needs and the hopes of each of these three characters. And it's beautiful. And I loved this episode. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below. If you've seen episode 8 of Amaama to Inazuma, if you enjoyed it as much as I did, any further insights you might have about any of the events and characterization that unfolded in this episode, always is welcome in the comments below. Love it or hate it, anything goes in the comments below. Just love having that conversation. And so yeah, otherwise that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.